The solemn air at the Pentagon carried both the weight of history and the grief of a nation. On this September morning, President Donald J. Trump stepped to the podium as Commander-in-Chief, greeted by applause, but immediately turning the audience's attention to a tragedy that has shaken America. Before addressing the ceremony itself, he acknowledged the shock that reverberated through the country just days ago, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Trump's words were direct and mournful. Donald Trump said, "Before we begin, let me express the horror and grief so many Americans at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk have felt. Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly. The president promised Kirk's legacy would endure." Donald Trump declared, "I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom." With that announcement, Trump connected the loss of a conservative firebrand to the broader themes of courage, sacrifice, and national memory that defined the day's remembrance of September 11th. Trump shifted to history, reminding the nation that 84 years ago, on September 11th, 1941, workers broke ground on what would become the Pentagon. At its completion, it was the largest office building in the world, a symbol of America's military strength and democratic values. Yet 6 decades later, on September 11th, 2001, those very walls were scarred by fire when terrorists turned planes into weapons and struck at the heart of America. Trump recalled the moment with gravity. Donald Trump said, "On that fateful day, savage monsters attacked the very symbols of our civilization. Yet here in Virginia and in New York and in the skies over Pennsylvania, Americans did not hesitate. They stood on their feet. And they showed the world that we will never yield, we will never bend, we will never give up, and our great American flag will never, ever fail." That attack left nearly 3,000 people dead and millions of families grieving. Trump reminded the audience that for those families, the losses did not fade with time. Missed birthdays, empty bedrooms, and unfinished dreams defined their daily lives. Donald Trump said, "To every member that still feels a void every day of your lives, the First Lady and I unite with you in sorrow. And today, as one nation, we renew our sacred vow that we will never forget September 11th, 2001. The president painted a vivid picture of ordinary Americans who spent their final minutes calling loved ones. Their voices, remembered in the archives of tragedy, remain among the most poignant memories of that day. At 8:59 a.m., Brian Sweeney aboard United Flight 175 left a message for his wife. "Do good. Go have good times. I totally love you. I'll see you again. I'll meet you up there." 4 minutes later, his plane crashed into the South Tower. At 9:12 a.m., Renee May phoned her mother from American Airlines Flight 77. She had just discovered she was 7 weeks pregnant. Her last words were simple, "I love you, Mom." Moments later, the plane struck the Pentagon. On United Flight 93, Elizabeth Wayo called her stepmother as passengers prepared to storm the cockpit. Her words were frantic and final. "They're getting ready to break into the cockpit. What do I do? I love you so much." "They're going to break in." 10 minutes later, the plane went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and at 10:25 a.m., Tom McInnes, trapped on the 92nd floor of the North Tower, spoke to his wife, Elena. "There are people jumping from the floors above us. We get out of here. It'll be a total miracle. I love you, darling. Take care of Caitlin, beautiful daughter." 3 minutes later, the tower collapsed. Trump reflected that these words captured the power of love in the face of terror and the courage of ordinary people whose lives were cut short, but whose voices still echo. The ceremony also honored the stories of extraordinary heroism. Trump spoke of Chuck Costello, a 46-year-old elevator mechanic and member of the Knights of Columbus. Costello entered the burning World Trade Center to help free those trapped in elevators. His body was not found until January. Among his belongings, his widow Mary discovered a handwritten prayer, "Help me to light the way for those in the dark. And when I enter the darkness, let me not panic, but patiently wait to remember the light." Another hero remembered was Sergeant First Class Steve Workman, who risked his life inside the burning Pentagon. After leading hundreds to safety, he returned to rescue a severely burned Navy lieutenant. That lieutenant, Kevin Schaefer, later helped locate Osama bin Laden. Donald Trump recalled the exchange. The wounded lieutenant looked into Steve's soul and said, "Don't let me die." Steve replied, "I won't. I've got you. Just hang on." Trump invited Steve to stand before the audience, calling him an American hero whose courage exemplified the spirit of that day. The president then broadened his message, declaring that America's enemies had learned a hard lesson in the years following the attacks. Donald Trump said, "If you attack the United States of America, we will hunt you down and we will find you. We will crush you without mercy and we will triumph without question." He emphasized that the country had rediscovered its strength. Donald Trump said, "Last year, we were a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world." He tied the resilience of 9/11 survivors to the rebirth of American strength in the present. The speech also told the story of Army Lieutenant Colonel Kip Taylor, who wrote to his family about the joys of fatherhood just an hour before Flight 77 struck his Pentagon office, killing him. His son Luke was born 6 weeks later and eventually grew up to become a U.S. Army lieutenant himself. Trump praised Luke as the living embodiment of his father's sacrifice, noting that whenever he wears the uniform, Luke says he feels connected to his father and his country. The president invited Luke to stand, telling him that his parents are together in heaven and could not be prouder of the man he has become. As the speech drew to its conclusion, Trump turned his attention to the values that must endure beyond remembrance. Donald Trump said, "We will defend the nation they served, the values they upheld, and the freedom for which they died. We will support our troops, we will protect our families, and we will preserve the American way of life for every future generation." He closed with a message of unity and resilience, promising that the United States would continue to rise above tragedy. Donald Trump said, "We will build taller, grow stronger, fight harder, and soar higher. And together we will go forward as one people with one heart, one fate, one flag, and one glorious destiny under Almighty God. May God bless the memories of those who died and the heroes who fought and the soldiers who still stand watch. May God bless the United States of America." The crowd rose to its feet in applause, a final moment of national solidarity. As the anthem "God Bless America" began, the ceremony closed with the same message it had carried throughout: remembrance, resilience, and the promise that America will never forget.